Okay, and going live.
Are you sure?
Yep, we are live.
Oh, we are live.
You can start us off
Welcome
with it.
to Hello Switch. We're both just staring at each other like, all right, who's gonna do the intro? Dude, honestly, this reminds me when we used to always sit on the couch at the last spot where we're just looking at each other. We're like, okay, who's gonna go first? Okay. Welcome to Hello Spiritual Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Jose.
I'm your other host, Amit.
I almost forgot my name for a second, dude.
Whoa,
I
whoa,
was like,
whoa.
wait a second here.
Sorry, I messed up the stream.
What what happened? You good?
Never mind, go ahead.
You're like a like a squirrel.
Well, I gotta look at two screens.
Is that gonna be too distracting?
No,
You sure?
I hope not. Oh
You just
my
did it.
god. One second. I realize I can't resize the window. Okay, there you go.
All right, just bear with us, people. This is our first time doing a live call on YouTube. And also, too, I mean, we've done two already on Instagram, and that's an adjustment because we're not used to doing video. We're used to just doing audio, and so it's just usually you and I and our producer sitting down, just talking. So there's usually no comments or people reacting to our video or audio. So
I'm struggling here, but I'm working with it. Okay, we're set up. We're good to go. I'm gonna stop touching it. Just
and
for just fair warning. I'm operating two computers and monitoring the audio and the chat at the same time. I realize this is a whole other person's job. But yeah, going on to today's podcast, the topic.
yes, are you honoring your gifts? Um, and I'm sure some people have already read the title and they're like, "What do you mean your gifts? Like, what exactly do you mean?" Um, and it's something that I've been sitting with since I had a conversation with my friend recently, and this topic stems from a conversation that I had with someone else. And usually that's how our topics kind of go, right? We're having a conversation with someone and it sparks some kind of conversation, and then you just kind of dive deep in that conversation, and you walk away from that conversation living like, wow, that's actually really powerful message. Like, wow, like I got a lot out of that conversation, and now I carry that on to like other platforms, like talking to other people. I'm like, hey, like this is what I talked about with this person, and it really resonated with me, and it landed for me, and they're like, wow, like that was very profound. And next thing you know, like it gets passed down, right?
Yeah, it's been a long week. It's been a very long week. But yeah, that's how our topics usually come about. We used to sit on the couch or just in passing when we lived together, of like, hey, what do you think about this? Or just start up a conversation like very casually and just like hear each other out and kind of
Mm-hmm.
see a mirror of what was going on for ourselves and also input from the other person. So you mentioned one of our mutual friends had brought this up, right?
Yeah.
Take this topic.
Yeah, he was actually on a little road trip. So I'll give a little backstory behind the topic and we'll dive a little deep into it. So he went on the road trip to Joshua Tree, and I remember giving him a call, and yeah, he just was sharing the experience around Joshua Tree, and he was mentioning about you see pictures of Joshua Tree, but you're like, oh, it's just a desert and it's kind of dry, just not a lot going on there. But when you're actually there, it just feels different. Like the energy feels different, the aura, it just feels really, I don't know how to describe it. You just gotta be there. And so he was telling me his experience, how profound it was. And then he was thinking about this concept of like, how am I honoring my gifts? And that stems from a basketball player that has a foundation's name honoring your gifts. And then so he started looking at it through the lens of like, how am I honoring my gifts? He's a teacher. He's an amazing teacher. So he started reflecting on his life, like, how am I honoring that gift? Like, am I showing up authentically to these kids? Am I giving them my full attention? Like, am I fully being present? Then he started looking at his life, like, how am I honoring my family? Right? How am I honoring my friendships? How am I honoring myself? How am I nurturing myself? How am I taking care of myself? And like I said, I walked out of that conversation feeling like, wow, like, how am I doing that? Like, how am I honoring my gifts? How am I honoring my family, my friends, um, my body, my job, my business, my photography? I mean, you could go down the list of all the things. So I thought it would be a really good topic to just have like a deeper conversation about it and see what people like about the conversation. Maybe it might spark something inside of you where you take this and pass it down to someone else and you look at your own life like, wow, like, hmm, maybe I want to, you know, what I'm trying to say with this, you can use that for your own life.
Right, right. And I think that's very good because this kind of goes hand in hand with our previous episodes of discovering the purpose, regulating the body, and then you get to this point of like, okay, there's just these things that I want to do, or these spaces that I want to hold sacred, or one of the references you mentioned was like the body. What do we do with this to reach that like highest potential and or make it in the healthiest way possible? Right. That's kind of what I'm getting from this.
Yeah. So, do you want to dive in first or do you want me to dive in? I feel like I've been doing a lot of the talking.
Well, I'm taking your lead just because like I'm monitoring all of this and like I'm just gonna bounce like off of you if you're all
Hmm.
right with that.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Yeah. So yeah, since I've had that conversation with him, I've been really just sitting with that question, like, how am I honoring my gifts? And I believe my gift to this world was to be of service in whatever capacity that I can. I felt like I was born to be a healer and to be in the space of helping people heal, whether that's through trauma, whether that's through limiting beliefs, whether that's just holding space for someone and creating a container where they can heal some aspects of their lives. And I've been able to do that for the last what 8.5 years or so. Um, so yeah, I really took the time to reflect off that, and it really shifted the energy of like how I was showing up with more intentions, right? Because as humans in society, we're such in a go, go, go mode that we don't take the time to slow things down and actually listen to the body, listen to the energy, feel into the energy, and really sit with how am I feeling? How am I putting my energy out to the situation? How am I really nurturing these relationships? Am I like really being there? Like, for example, when I go over my family's house, I go there once a week, and there's times where I'm on my phone a lot of the times, right? And so I can look at that and I'm like, all right, am I really nurturing my family time? And I can say there's times, yes, I am. And there's other times where I'm really not because I'm taking away time from them by being on my phone, right? So I'm still doing things that is taking attention away from my family time, right? So when I started looking at that, I'm like, all right, so what can I do to nurture that a little more? All right, put my phone down, engage in the conversation more, ask how the week are going, and just really get in conversation with them and just because I love my family. I love hanging out with them. We have a lot of great times. We just honestly we just go over, we watch football, we talk a lot of mess, we laugh a lot, we joke, we check in with our week, what's been working for us, and my family just asked me a lot of questions, and um so that's one of the things I was able to reflect back is like, wow, like I could do a little more. I could be more intentional when I am spending time with the family. Um, what about you, Amit?
As you're talking, I realize because I go back to what are my languages of love, right? And quality time is up there. And you mentioned that with the family. I feel the most connected with my friends, my family, and just people in general, like when I'm present. And so if I want to receive something as the way that feels good to me. I don't like them on their phone all the time or whatnot. Like,
Mhm.
pay attention to me, kind of, right? But it shows a level of respect and
Yeah.
respect towards that communication and connection to those people, right? And I think what you're relating it to is if we go internally to each of our own individual selves, once you get to like what you want to honor, what are you going to put respect on that name for? Like, what are you going to do for it, right?
Hmm.
So one of the prime examples that comes up for me is social media for one. I
Yeah.
know we utilize the platform to get exposure and like broaden the platform. I mean, this is our first YouTube live. I barely know what I'm doing, and we're just doing it. We're sending it, and
We're
it
doing it.
takes it takes a lot of intentional time to go there specifically to set up like a live stream and stuff, rather than get stuck in like scrolling through either the posts on social media and stuff like that. And you actually sparked a social media cleanse last end of last year. You're like, hey, I'm gonna delete these apps off my phone, so like I have to go home to my computer to then go on it because I'm going on it way too much. And you're looking at the screen time, right? It was
Hmm.
hours. So I did the same thing, and now I have the screen time thing on a widget on my phone. And in the time that I was off totally for at least a month, the amount of quality time that I spent on these other facets of my life, side businesses, side hustles, and whatnot, and working on my car and like setting up this room and whatnot, like it was one much quicker, two very much more intentional, and like it felt like a ritual, if you will,
Hmm.
right? How a ritual is done.
Yeah.
It puts time and intention there, just like in a format of a prayer. If songs are our own format of like mantras, like whatever we listen to, we embody. So if we take this same concept and put it and apply it into career that I'm going to go for that helps other this that I'm passionate about, which kind of goes into possibly doing men's group, right? Like we want to both do that. Well, it's
Right.
going to take quality time, intention, set a base plan, and actually put time into it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if that's the gifts that we're given, put respect and honor on it to make that time sacred,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. I really love how you're circling back to respect. Because it all comes down to the respect. Like, how am I respecting this God-given gift that I was given, right? And this kind of ties into like our friend passing away recently, right? It's like we all have an expiration date. So what are we gonna do today to honor this life that we have today? Like this gift to be here. Not a lot of people get to make it long, right? And if I could do this, where there's actually a thing that I wanted to do where I could figure out like how long I'm going to live for. Let's say I'm going to live until I'm 80 years old, and every day I look on my laptop and it tells me the days and the hours and seconds. Okay, and it's like, okay, today this is how much time I have left. What am I doing to honor that each single day? Right. And I understand I am human and I'm not always going to be 100% where I'm on it and I'm honoring everything and I'm like on top of it, and I'm feeling amazing. And there's times where I'm just going to come home and I don't want to study, or I don't want to take some notes for my coaching, or come up with a topic for the podcast. I'm just going to go home and eat some food and literally get some popcorn and like lay down and just like just relax. Like the other day, I had this funny experience where it was after our call, after we did a little test run for about 2 hours. We're you know trying to figure things out so we prep for this call. And after the call, I was so burnt out, but I really wanted to color and I really wanted to stay up. But the adult self was like, "Hey, Jose, it's time to go to bed. It's getting late." And but little Pepe was like, "But I wanna stay up." It's like, I wanna color. I wanna like play a little bit. Um, and so what I did is I could have just ignored that feeling and just went to bed. But I felt that feeling come up. I'm like, all right, let me honor what my little Pepe wants, my inner child wants, and color for a little bit. Like I could carve out about 10, 15 minutes and do that, right? And I felt so much better because not only did I honor myself, I actually took the action to actually do the things that I really wanted to do, even though it was getting late at night. But I feel really good when I woke up the next morning because there wasn't no hangover of disappointing my inner child again. Right. And so that's just a small little example, right? You want to say something, you got like this look.
Yeah, because we're talking very generally about the topic and our overview of it and how it can be beneficial. You mentioned the body and the inner child, and I think they're all
Mhm,
foundational for anything else. So
mhm.
for those of us like probably tuning in, or probably like, what are your gifts? I think it's a good starting
Yeah.
point to
Yeah.
come to then work our way through this,
Mhm,
right? So when you first mentioned the topic, I thought of both materialistic things and non-materialistic things,
mhm.
right? So there's the passions that I am good at, that I like spending time at, like my cars and whatnot, working on them, building them how I want to, and then driving them. Um, the I guess non-materialistic, my connections with my friends, connections with my family, like we kind of overviewed of that, and like my passions in the career, right? Like I wanted to do more media stuff, and part of the thing was like that memento mori that I always talk about, which is like Latin or French for remember you must die, which kind of goes
Mhm.
back into how much time you got left, what do you do with the time,
Yeah.
and going after like those media things of like I bought the camera, I didn't want to do the thing, let's spend time and intention to go out and do it,
Mhm.
and also like grateful for the spaces that I'm in, like having a roof over my head and having places to go at like friends' house, or having gatherings. Like I went to a photo walk recently, like that was awesome.
Yeah.
And also the body, right? You mentioned inner child, which is like that non-materialistic. We go inward to seek that. Like
Mhm.
these are what I hear when we say gifts,
Yeah.
right? And at a foundational level, you got to take care of the body first.
Yeah.
Because I know when you started saying like I didn't have that emotional hangover from the inner child the next day, that resonated with me because I'm like, I've done that. I
Mhm.
worked recently 35 hours straight and I didn't play no video games, and it was a lot of irritability. So what
I'm
would you
just
what would you describe as gifts?
dude, I'm just like when you did you say 36 hours you're up?
With a 1 hour nap in between, yes.
God bless your soul, brother. You're I could not do that. That's insane. Um yeah, I mean I think I touched a little bit on in like the one that's natural comes for me is my coaching business, like the gift of healing other people. Like I feel like that's what I was brought here for. And the other one that comes to mind is my creative flow, my creativity, and what I do with it. That goes through my photography. Like this past week, I carved out time to go shooting. I say, hey, on Friday I had to work, and I told my boss like, is it okay if I can take Friday? He's like, yeah. I'm like, I'm gonna go shoot some photos. He's like, yeah, of course. So I took that day off, and two people were supposed to go with me, and they both couldn't make it. But I still made that commitment with myself that I still want to go shoot, regardless if someone's going to make it or not. And I'm glad I did because I got to go out there by myself. It was cold as hell, it was windy, but I got to see a beautiful sunrise, and I was able just to connect with my creative flow, my gift of creating, and I was by myself. Like I've been trying to do things alone now, kind of like date myself again, in a sense. Like go if you want to do something, go on your own. Don't wait for people. And so that's been kind of a mindset that I have of like, how can I nurture this gift that I have? Let me just go and do it. Um, and then I went hiking for a few days, and then after that, I went shooting again, and it just felt really beautiful to nurture that part of me because I haven't been shooting a whole lot. I've been waiting. I've been waiting. Oh well, the weather and I'm like, no, dude, just go and do it. And I just felt like even just as after doing that this past week, dude, I just felt beautiful. I've been having this really beautiful energy. Um, I've been more creative with my writing, and I'm sure a lot of people that are on here have been reading my writing on Instagram, and so it's just like when I'm nurtured a gift, it just naturally comes back to me, and then just comes outwardly. and people around me benefit from that as well too. Not only myself, but people around me benefit from that because it's like a natural energy that's flown over me. It's like overflowing. I'm just like, all right, I have so much. Let me give it back. Let me bless other people because I'm being blessed. And that's kind of like one of my, actually, that's part of my prayer. It's like, bless me so I can bless others. And it's not in an egotistical way or selfish way, but use me as a vessel to bless others because I'm being blessed by this beautiful gift that I have. Um, and so, and then I get to bless people on Instagram. I get to bless my friends because I get, I get to show up for them. I can be present with them. I can hold space, or just go shoot some photos or go skateboarding or whatever the case may be. I am present because I am nurturing myself. And you were talking about the body. Hiking's another part for me to connect with the body, nurture my body. I just bought some new hiking boots. I'm so stoked for them. I'm a real hiker now because I got real hiking boots.
With the boots with the fur.
Hey. Now I feel like a real hiker. I mean, I've been hiking for years, but to actually have, I mean, I've had some hiking boots, but they were hurting my feet. And so I wanted to buy some new ones. So there's just a lot of ways to nurture it. And I'm not sure if people are questioning themselves like, what is my gift? Like what does that look like for me? And I think it looks differently for everyone.
Yeah, that's kind of why I wanted to interact with people. Those that are you that are viewing, I know there's a delay in the chat, but like, if you want, list those things that you feel are gifts to you. What do you want to honor? What are maybe something that you're struggling with, or something that you're in the middle of channeling, listening to us talk about? Like we talked about our own. Throw it in the chat. Let's get some interactions in there with it. And while that happens, I think touching on that foundational point of the body and the inner child goes hand in hand with it.
Yeah.
Because you mentioned if you're fulfilling something that you're passionate about, or one of the main buckets that you're gifted with, then it's chat delay. then
Hmm?
sorry, I'm like reading the chat at the same time. It's distracting. This is different.
I,
It's a little
I can't
difficult
even see the chat. How come I can't see the chat?
on your phone, right?
I'm on my phone.
Scroll down.
I don't know technology.
Anyways, trying to get back into flow. I forgot what I was talking about directly, but at a foundational, yeah, that's right.
I found it.
The buckets that you put your energy into, those ones, when you're filled up in those buckets, and you could be authentic and be present for others and whatever interactions you have for them. That's where you said like, bless me so I could bless others. So
Yes.
by taking care of yourself and eating right, sleeping right, or trying to sleeping right, as I say that hypocritically a little bit, um, those at a baseline help your perception much differently. Like me at 35 hours awake versus me after full nights of rest, like completely different perceptions. And I know not to trust all the thoughts that come up when I've been awake that long.
Hmm.
And from there, exercising and eating correctly or as best as I can. I mean, no one's fucking, no one's like perfect. So I got my little snack drawer over there just because like sometimes the inner child is like, I want to watch popcorn or watch a movie. I'm like, I'll honor that. Or the coffee, as I or the coffee. Um, yeah. So I'm seeing stuff in the chat. Anna saying coaching, intuition, healing, spirituality, empowering others. Hell
Mm.
yeah. There you go.
Yes. Love it.
Brian's in the chat saying, I think I'm still trying to figure out some of my gifts, and like that's all right.
It will
Everyone's at
come.
different parts.
Yeah.
Even if you don't know what it is, I think honoring the body first will help the perception unlock that further,
Yeah.
right? Like I haven't been one to work out ever in my life, and up until like the last year or two, I've been doing it more consistently.
Hmm.
And I'll take those breaks in between just because like I just need to drop down and focus on some other stuff because it takes energy, and just
Yeah.
jump back into that. And I notice when I am exercising maybe every other day versus not for a week, the ideas that come to my head and the confidence that I have behind them, which kind of segues into the centered energy part, is like tenfold. I'm able to do it. I'm able to go and make mistakes which I like now. Like I'm getting a better relationship. I'm making mistakes, trying different things to be like, okay, it wasn't that bad. Let's dust off our shoes and get up and back up again.
Mhm.
Because the inner child, my inner child, is just like, oh no, I don't want to do it because it gets scared.
Yeah. Yeah.
Self consoling, self grounding, and then stepping back into that again.
Hmm.
Right? Would you add anything into that?
Um, yeah, I kind of want to piggyback a little bit on what one of the Brian was saying about trying to find some of his gifts. And I started reflecting back, probably I want to say like 2015, 2016. Up to that point, I didn't know my purpose. I didn't know what gifts I had. I just always lived life kind of black and white. I just want to have a job and get married, buy a house, have kids, and and live life like that, right? Like I didn't have this creative outlook, spiritual way of looking at things inwardly. I just didn't have that kind of mindset. That just wasn't the way I was raised, the way I was brought up. And so I just never really had any concept of what that looked like. And something happened in my sobriety where something clicked, like something shifted in me. I was like, wait, like I really enjoy helping people, right? Like I like genuinely love doing that. And I started exploring that a little more. And then a few years later, I got certified to get a life to be a life coach. And I realized like, wow, like this is like a gift of mine. Like I naturally have this. I didn't know that. And when I start hearing my colleagues saying, "Hey, Jose, like you have to give, like you create so much safety, you nurture people, and you just have this way with your presence. Like people feel so safe and seen and heard around me." I'm like, I didn't know I had that, right? But I had to step into that curiosity, right? When it first came up, I'm like, wow, like I actually kind of enjoy this. All right, let's see where it goes. And I think that curiosity got me to where I'm at today. It literally got me to where I'm at right now because without the curiosity, I wouldn't be where I'm at today at all. I wouldn't explore with photography. I didn't know I could create through photography. I didn't know I could write, right? Like I didn't know these things until I start exploring that curiosity and just start saying yes to things that weren't natural to me in the beginning. Now it's more natural because I've stepped into it. I embrace that. Yes, this is something I enjoy doing. I love it, and I nurture it as a gift that I'm here to do, right? And I'm just looking to this. I have all my cameras here. I'm like, wow, like I have these beautiful cameras, my babies, and I've been able to create so much beauty from it, and people have been able to see that, see life through my lens, through the way I view things. And now people are starting to see my writing now, and they're like, wow, like I'm really enjoying what you're writing now. So it's it's just beautiful, man. Like it really is beautiful to step into this power, step into this gift that was like it was already within me. I just had to deprogram myself, take all these limited beliefs off, start going inward, and start seeing what's naturally in there, and just water it and let it bloom.
I think that's a very good picture or a very good timeline to put where you were to where you are now. And one of the
Mhm.
main things that I got from it, like, well, let me ask you, what had to change from the way that you're living to now for you to be connected more into those gifts, right?
Um,
Because you said you didn't know anything of those before. Like
yeah.
you and I both connected on. We've made this metaphor like when you're a skateboarder, you like cruising down the street in my 6'4". No, you're
Six
cruising down the
four.
street. you
Dude,
cruise.
I went straight to that song too.
You're cruising down the street and like you see a stair set or something. You're like, oh, that'd be hella fun to skate, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So and then we related that analogy to photography. Like once you started getting more into photography, you're like going by something. You're like, oh, that'd be a great shot, a great frame. You got to
Yeah.
get into it somehow
Yeah.
to get into it. So what was different from where you were? And what questions did you ask, or which things did you walk through to start, right?
From 2016 on,
So
or
either of these gifts, be it photography, be it, I mean, you did the whole bodybuilding thing too as well, right? Like
that's right.
there was some spark which comes from an idea, and there, we'll talk about the actions afterwards. So I just want to dive
Hmm.
a little bit deeper into the thought process that you went through personally.
Hmm. Yeah, we talked about it on one of our podcasts episodes. It wasn't the topic, but it was part of the conversation. With my photography, it was literally I was envious of someone. Like that's all it was. I was literally envious of someone how good they got into photography. And I remember having this conversation with you where I said, I want to do that. And you're like, well, then do. He's like, oh no, I can't do that. And then you referred to the book that I have and that says, who say you can't? You do. And so that just like opened me. I was like, wow, I'm the one who's blocking myself from this curiosity that I'm having, this feeling that I'm having, this thought that I'm having. And once I was able to question that and just say yes, change that no to yes, right? And just fully step into like Karusha's on here. I remember we had a conversation, I want to say sometime last year. She was like, Jose, you were born to be a photographer. Like you literally picked up a camera and never stopped shooting. Like this was supposed to be your thing. Like you didn't know it, but you are natural at it. And and to answer your question, I just had to say yes. When it came up, just say yes.
It sounds like the
Because
movie
mine,
movie
yeah, yes, man.
Yes Man with Jim
Yeah,
Carrey. It's a
yeah,
very good
yeah,
depiction of like, if you have a gift that you want to put more energy into, watch that movie. It's
yeah.
not like endorsing it for money or anything, but like literally watch that movie and see how his life got flipped, turned upside down. My mind is just full of audio. See how his life was, and then like he just started saying yes to everything. I'm not condoning that, but it's a good idea when prompted to like, usually you may say no, or maybe you say yes too much to things that aren't aligned with you.
Yeah, yeah,
That's a whole other topic in itself. But
yeah,
he started saying yes to opportunities which made him feel uncomfortable, or he was scared of, or he just gravitated to the no and did his own thing. And it allowed new inputs into his life, be it from people, be it from things that were happening, that because he wound up in places he wasn't at before, right? And it's when you said Ted the story of you were envious of someone, right? So like I think a lot also reframing a lot of these emotions and or responses into gratitude,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because
No,
like to me, like reframing anger, um, because coming from the program, it says we're ought to let other people that are more equipped to handle it express that, which I don't fully lean into or believe anymore. I had to regulate. I had to figure out like what is causing this, and a lot of it was a derivative of the inner child not meeting some need, and then it's throwing a tantrum through passive aggressivity or through other formats. Acknowledging that need, consoling the inner child, and then finding a way to be like, okay, anger means something. It means something. Either something was done wrong to me, or I felt something was wrong, and I want to make it right. So I'm grateful for the emotions that come up. Like they matter. Just like you expressed with the envy, you're like, man, I want to do the thing, and I was like, go do it. Like, what's stopping you?
yeah,
I'm like,
it was me. Yeah,
when I have conversations with other people, and like I get on similar topics of this, it borderline turns into like a life coaching session, which they express something. I was like, well, what's stopping you from getting started? And 80% of the time they'll stumble. 20% of the time they've already ironed it out. Then it goes into the next part, right? Which is the action. And
yeah.
yeah, you're gonna say anything?
I feel like I was, and then I didn't want to interrupt you,
Sorry.
and then I started listening to what you're saying, then I forgot what I was going to say.
Well,
I'm just trying to pay attention to what you're saying so I can kind of pick up after you instead of just trying to remember what I want to say.
you remember the days we used to record in the house, and like we'd have so much caffeine before.
Well, I have caffeine.
No, 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 like that one particular episode where we were just like machine gun firing flow back and forth. That must have been one of the quickest episodes. But
I'm not gonna
anyways,
lie, I do miss the old setup where we're on the couch, we're sitting down, we're lean back, we're relaxed. Like this is still comfortable, but I do miss that old format where we're just literally sitting down, relaxing. We have a cup of coffee, we're chopping it up with our producer right before, and then we do a little prayer and then we jump right into it. So this is a different format. I do like it now. It's actually really kind of nice to interact with our audience, and it's live, like literally, like there's no editing, there's nothing. You're gonna see me do twitchy things and like weird things that I tend to do.
you and me both. You and me both.
Yeah.
Speaking of the chat, another prompt that I would put out there, be it you know what your gifts are or not, what are some things, actionable items that you can do towards them, right? Because we just talked about like your story, and I forgot what my example, but basically getting similar, like doing video, like what's stopping you? Just go out there and just start shooting. It was all mental stuff, but like I want to ask the audience, what is stopping you from doing stuff with your gifts, honoring your gifts, right? Because it's time and intention set out to do something, right? And for me, to give examples, when I said I was gonna at a baseline work on my body, I started exercising every day for like 3 weeks straight, and I had a lot of fire energy underneath that to keep me going. But like I got tired of my own stuff. I was like, okay, just let's just send it. It caused me to heavily like prioritize where exercising was, which was very low, to number one on my list. And I started putting time on that. We only have a certain amount of time a day, so why not construct like some structure around it to fulfill the things that I need to do, which
Hmm.
includes the inner child stuff, right? I actually went on my calendar and I put like go play or like go drive or play video games or like a reminder to play video games for an hour. And what that looks like for me to actually put it into some tangible stuff is I'll wake up, have my morning routine, and then I'll go and do some work. And in the middle of the day, I'll probably have like an hour that I'll set aside or 45 minutes and I'll watch a YouTube video of something that I'm interested in, be it motorcycle videos, be it like some drifting, be it like learning how to shoot a certain style like cinematography, or maybe Netflix is the latest YouTube series I'm in. And I'll tell
Hmm.
myself to my inner child, like, all right, we get this. I'll put everything, like all the business stuff away. Let's just be present with what's going on. But after this episode, we're gonna get back to work. And it's
Yeah.
literally like self reparenting.
Yeah,
And
it is.
then getting after that thing is done, I'm like, ah, one more episode. I'm like, nah, or yes, depending on the level of work that I have.
Yeah.
But to be successful at anything, I think there's a level of discipline that's to come with that, right? And
Yeah.
discipline isn't always comfortable.
Yeah.
So like stepping away from the TV or whatever I'm doing, it's like, all right, let's hammer away at what we're gonna do because there's that other goal. The adult self has that goal, the purpose, the gift that
Yeah.
I want to put time, energy into,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, as you're expressing all that, what's coming to mind is just finding balance. Finding what works for you, and only you know that. Everyone's balance is different. Everyone's structure is different. Everyone's discipline is different. I know you're very calendar, like super strict. I know your whiteboard right above you. I know how like super like just disciplined you are when it comes to like structuring things and calendar. I'm not like that. For me, I know what I'm doing every single day. I know what time of the frame I'm going to put things together. Um, because I do like, yeah, I like to step into the masculine when I'm really structured, really directive and purposeful, and have everything in line. But also too, I like to flow as well too, and that's where I connect more with the body, connect with my inner child, and slow things down a little bit, and actually nurture the body. Because if I'm not nurturing my body and my inner world, I can't really show up for anyone else. I can't show up for my job. I can't show up for my clients. I can show up for my friends, my family. Like it's just impossible. So there has to be some compassion, there has to be some understanding and awareness of like, okay, am I doing too much? Am I actually structuring some playtime or some nurturing of just taking it easy, um, slow things down? Um, yeah, because it's tough. I mean, even all the things that we talk about, it's you add that and you add jobs, family, friends. It just there's just so much that we have to do, and we're just humans at the end of the day. Like we can only do so much. But and I think that's why I was mentioning in the beginning is like doing things intentionally, not just doing just to do it, but intentionally do things so that way you are feeling more connected with the things you are doing. Like right now, I feel really connected to this podcast and talking to you all because my intention was to be here, right now. Put my phone on do not disturb because I don't want to be distracted by that. You and I did some breath work right before we did a little meditation, and that just lined me up right here. So I feel really connected right here with Source and with you and our audience, and that all that everything that I'm saying, it just takes time. It's taking practice. It takes trials and errors. Am I like this all the time? Hell no. Like I'm really not like I'm really not like that all the time, and I will always admit that, and I will let people know that we are humans and we're not immune to the human condition and experience, and we're not robots. Also, like we can't just put a battery and just like press go and then like do all these things all the time until but we tend to work that way sometimes where we press play and then we go until the battery dies and then we crash. And then we put another battery and then we press go and then we do it all over again and we crash, you know,
That resonates. That resonates. That resonates heavily.
36 hours later, mate.
Well, that's then it segues into as those of you for longtime followers or listeners to the podcast, you may hear me speak a lot of the concept of ascendant energy,
Send it.
and like this that came from that whole thing where people would say send it a lot, and it was like really popular to say that. I don't hear it as much often, but then you have that concept of energy, like ascendant type energy, and what does this look like, and what is this defined as is for me personally is this inner fire that just like really is hungry to go do the damn thing, right? And it's just like just go, just get excited and just
Send
go.
it.
And that kind of goes hand in hand with the inner fire, right? Like if there's something that I'm passionate about, I'm very studious, as you were mentioning earlier, of like I will break it all down in these there's probably like 200 bullet points on my whiteboard behind me. And I'll write it all out. And then when time comes where I've segregated time to go do something, like I have the plan written up, right? And I just go do it. Just be hungry about it and just go do it. And what this looks like for me is like when I'm itching to go drive or something, and I have like a window where I can go do it. I'm gonna get my camera gear, strap up the car up with the cameras and whatnot, and just go freaking drive. Because what that's going to do is doing two things at the same time for me. One, I'm very passionate about driving the barrier roads. We have beautiful, beautiful back roads out here. And two, I'm getting footage that is going to go into my other bucket, which is editing these videos and creating those things. Because to me, if I'm going to be about like doing videography stuff, I would want an inventory to make a story from,
Mm.
right? And it's going to cause me to learn two things at the same time. One is embodying how to drive a road differently or memorize it this way or whatever, try a different driving style. And two, edit all the things on the computer, learn how to shoot in different shutter speeds and different apertures and all these technical terms that I've learned over the years, right? Which so it kind of goes hand in hand with the me staying out for 36 hours. I was editing photos for something that I said I was going to be doing, and I was like, I will just hammer away and just like send it, literally go. And you're talking about replacing batteries. My batteries was the coffee, 5 cups of coffee, just just going. And I've stayed up that long doing a bunch of other things like replacing the clutch in my transmission for my car the day before an event. And it's like one of those like it's exciting, it's an adventure. One thing may go wrong, and like running that risk, I'm gonna go for it.
Mhm.
And it lights me the hell up. And I think when I talk to other people and I find out like what is their passion? What is their gift that they're like maybe on the fence about or like starting to go out and do it? I'm like, I like hearing that energy. Like, what are you doing about it? Like, and I ask them about their hobbies or ask them about their passion,
Hmm.
and you could feel that energy, and it livens me up, right? Then I'll hype them the hell up,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I don't know, like I kind of want to make that a sticker. Like,
You've been talking about this for how many years now, and you still haven't done any of it? You should just send it.
I should send it on the Sended
You should
Energy
just send
sticker.
it. Yeah.
Would
All
anyone
right, everyone.
want a Sended Energy
Everyone
sticker?
hold Amit accountable for this. All right. Check in with him within the next week.
And then it kind of relates to what we're doing here, right? We had a meeting of like, do you want to try to do 2 episodes a week for a month? Do a 1 month challenge? And it's like, let's see where it goes, right?
Yeah. 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 And also too, it's like it goes to the concept of like pushing your edges as well too, and not playing small. Um, I'm sure a lot of people understand that concept of playing small and pushing your edges, and that ties into your inner critic, which is this part of you that wants to keep you small because it feels safe and comfortable, right? And so when you're in that space of listening to your inner critic, you can't step into your power, you can't step into your gifts because you're just staying small, So applying the centered energy, the inner fire, the passion, and taking the action allows you to push these boundaries that has been instilled to you for safety. But obviously, it's not serving you anymore because it's keeping you small. It's not allowing you to expand and grow in ways where it feels beautiful. Like you're just like, well, I wouldn't be staying up 36 hours because of that energy. I just won't be doing that. Like I'll have a good amount of energy for a whole day, right? Not 3 days or however long you're up for. I'm a little different. Um, but it just brings that inner power out of you, and you just want to just go, and like just really explore that. And just you were talking about talking to other friends and like inspire them to step into their power. That goes into the concept that I said earlier, like when you're blessed, you're blessing others by sharing this experience and literally transfer this energy out to them. But
Yeah.
I do understand that there has to be work as well too. Like as far as working through limiting beliefs, working through some inner child work, doing some inner work, um, and really start de-webbing a lot of things that were keeping you small, and start questioning things. I think that's been one of like the biggest gifts I've gotten so far is the gift of curiosity. Like just being curious, like curious and question things and really sit with that. It's like, okay, is this really aligned with me? Like, how does this feel? And because as we all know, a lot of things are modeled to us as kids subconsciously without us even knowing. And so we pick up on things that are not even ours. And so as we get older, we start pushing those boundaries of that because we're growing and we're like, wait, like why does this why is there a resistance or like why am I feeling this? And that's where the curiosity comes in. It's like, huh, like why is this like, and then you start looking at it and it's like, oh wow, like this is actually not in line with me anymore. um Let me change that narrative, let me take something differently, let me take a different action and rewrite that so it can become my own, and it could be my truth, not what was conditioned modeled to me. It could be my truth, and now the inner gift can come out of that because it's coming within myself now, not external environmental conditioning. It's coming within myself now. And so that takes time as well too, where whether working with a life coach, a therapist, a spiritual healer, whatever the case may be, but just getting back into that space of coming back to self and then recreating your own reality within yourself and coming out.
You spoke about a bunch of different things all at once, which it
I'm in the
made
flow, bro.
it made a lot of sense to me. But like I'm trying to like hit all the different things. You talked about curiosity, and I think that's like the inner child coming up of like it's just inquiring about different things with the imagination. Just like a spark of something comes maybe out of nowhere, maybe out of somewhere. But you talked about a block. One of the blocks is the conditioning, right? Seeing it through someone else's lens or someone else's channel, and you're like, this lens sucks or this channel is boring. I want to change that.
Mhm.
So you start messing with like the inner guide remote control, and you start messing with it, or you go to the optometrist, put on a different pair of glasses, and try that on, and see like what your actual authentic internal compass says.
Mhm.
Right. So a lot of this is being connected to what the body's telling you, is
Mhm.
being aware when it is that you're triggered, or that you're feeling resistance, right? And like actually jotting down like where is this coming from?
Yeah.
Where did you learn this? I think is
Yeah.
the thing that comes up for me. And noticing, do you want to challenge this now or
Yeah.
wait? Right. And for me, after I've gone through like, yo, something went up, like this is bothering me and taking a bunch of energy, I see where I learned this from. Do I want to take action on it right now? Because that alone takes a lot of energy, right? Just doing those three things.
Yeah.
So when I usually am ready to do something about it, then I'll go and switch it up. And this comes from like changing that narrative, switching the narratives, and then having your own disconfirming experience. Because maybe something stopped you before. Like a lot of my blocks were like I was fearful of something because something in my past happened that I held shame or fear around, and then that echoed into the present day where I wasn't able to go take action on it. So
Mhm.
challenging those old ideas of like, okay, depending the level of conditioning or trauma, I would like a safe space to go and practice this with. It could be by sharing something with a safe friend. Like when we had our
Mhm.
conversations on the couch, I voiced a lot of things that like I wanted to change, but I had to voice the old idea that I was holding onto because I
Mhm.
needed to release the energy from it to do
Yeah.
work on it,
Yeah.
right? And after doing that, then it's like, all right, I want to take some action. I want to do something. Okay, I said I want to do. Here comes the opportunity. Am I gonna take it or not? And I would go out and like shoot photos and some videos, like when I was first starting out, right? But now I'm doing it more. It's like I fulfilled this part of getting comfortable enough. Now it's like, all right, time to get uncomfortable. I hit the plateau and I want to climb on to the next plateau, right? So social conditioning or lenses trauma, um, and the derivative of that is like how to access that. You mentioned life coaching. You mentioned the modalities, journaling, meditating,
Therapy.
learning about it, therapy. Highly suggest therapy. Even there's a stigma around therapy that I've had in my family, like that it was bad. I would say this right now, like it is beneficial. You don't need to be troubled to get therapy. Having
Yeah.
someone to talk to that can hold a container and mirror back to you things that like who's stopping you? You are, right? Just for an example,
Yeah.
or talking about those deeper things that you may not even be knowing that's there,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
The concept
Yeah.
of peeling the onion and going back deeper layers, and you're gonna cry those levels of grief to shed those old identities. It's
Yeah.
all worth it in the end because
Yeah.
you get to
Mhm.
meet the new you,
Yeah.
right? To create the space for that new you gotta let go of the old part.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the conditioning trauma modalities to do with the trauma and or conditioning and challenging those narrative to then taking the action.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. It's all a beautiful process. It's part of the human experience. Like I'm looking through the group chat and I'm seeing all these beautiful people here, and they're all creative people, like beautiful human beings, and they all have a gift, and they're all here to serve whatever capacity they can. And it just reminds me how we're all connected in a way, energetically, um, because everyone's comes together for a reason, and we may never know what that is, but the whole purpose of it is just be with it. Like every single person I'm seeing here, I've connected in so many different ways with, whether it's conversations, through photography, through podcasts, through just healing process, or whatever the case may be. Like everyone has had a part in my healing and my inner gifts, and I've been able to see some of their gifts. So I just want to give a little shout out to all the people on the group chat. We love you all. I see your gifts. I see you all. I acknowledge you all. And I see you too, Amit. You're my brother. Everyone. I'm just feeling good. This is so good. I'm so happy that we're back in this space again.
Stumbling forward and doing the things that we said we're gonna do.
Yeah.
I always go back to if chaotic positive was a thing. Like I'm totally there.
I was talking to Eric about that. It was hilarious. He might respond right now because he's like, "Dude, yeah, I relate to that."
No, because there's like six or five different things, and like I was thinking of that. It was one of the previous episodes that we did like maybe a year ago, and I didn't relate to any of it. It was probably another format, but I really like chaotic positive because it's just like it aligns with the Senate energy of just like going for it, and like whatever happens is gonna be good. Like either I'm gonna fail and get experience, or I'm gonna succeed and get experience, and like it's towards the thing that I wanted to do,
Yeah.
and piling a bunch of layered ones on that simultaneously, like something's gonna click, and it's
Hmm.
gonna be fun doing it. I think
Yeah.
there's a lot of levity once there's a by doing this type of work roughly for the last 6.5, 7, and like a bunch of years. It allowed me to get into a space from very crippling depression and anxiety from where I was to feeling that I could breathe easily again, to there's more to life than just that, to let's go after some goals that we set out, to like let's see if it works, right? Let's try it
Yeah.
out. I think
Yeah.
each of these builds upon each other. So if I wanted to circle back around, it starts with the body, nurturing that, nurturing the mind, which goes hand in hand with the inner child, which will tell you to the body, right? And isolating what resonates with you,
Hmm.
right? Like writing down. If you don't journal, just take a piece of paper out and just start writing whatever's on your mind. Like as I'm talking, I'm taking notes. Yes, um, because our minds think about like 70,000 odd thoughts a day, most of which don't matter, right? It's all fluff. There are many of those in there that are like ideas that we could succeed at. And the limiting belief that like, oh, what's gonna stop you? Social conditioning, all this other stuff. Write it down. Write all of this stuff down. Because then you could look at it objectively and it's not all in your head. Then you could breathe a little easier to then look, okay, do I really want to go after this? Right? I bring back a reading that I did a while back. This is back in 2017. I used to wake up, drive to work, and I had a buffer between parking there and then going inside of work. And I would read daily readers, like 10 of them, 10 readers a day. And one of them was a prompt. It said, uh, write where are the places you want to go. Write like
Mm.
five down. What are things that you're curious about or interested in trying to do? Write 5 to 10 of them down. And I forgot what the third one was, but it was you get the idea of like things that are we think about but we don't do. The next day's reader said, "Now go do them." First thing on my list was software engineer. The second thing on my list was videographer. And I've walked those paths, and it's given me so much like experience, and like I've met so many other people, right? So the first thing is like I guess if I were to zoom out on this, like the masculine and the feminine energy in us, the masculine creates the structure, but it's like the feminine that does the creation of like the ideas that come up. So when I isolate the things that resonate with me at like that core level, I want to input them into the structure of like what do I want to try and do and like what I need to go out there and do it.
Hmm.
Right. So my masculine is writing all this stuff down. My feminine is just like constantly writing all these like getting these ideas.
Yeah. The
So
flow.
I think that's the way to mesh them really well for me.
Mhm. Yeah.
Right. So it starts with the body, get the ideas flowing, writing this stuff down helps tremendously, organizing your thoughts. And if there are blocks, like reach out to one of the modalities that we mentioned, and or even just reach out to us on our Instagram. Both of us
Yeah.
have access to it at
Yeah.
Hello
Yeah.
Spiritual Podcast on Instagram. Like we love hearing messages and talking to you guys because it inspires us to create more and to create the spaces, right? To even
Yeah.
like this. One
Yeah.
person reached out to us and said they appreciated our podcast when we weren't doing recordings
She's
anymore.
on the call too.
She's on the call,
Yeah.
right? So
We
one
thank you.
person, thank you so much, because that one person like recycled the energy back to us, and we're like, you know what? how important was this to us? And you're like, you know what? I miss recording. You know what? I miss doing this because this is like a meditative time that
Yeah.
we got to express a lot of heavy stuff and a lot of light stuff too, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I enjoyed it. So now we're like, all right, you wanna go big? You wanna go
Send
big?
it. Send it.
So then going out and just doing it, right? We
Yeah.
created a plan, a rough plan for this month. We're gonna try and do 2 episodes a week.
We're gonna do the best we can of it.
We're gonna try and it's a goal,
Yes.
and we're gonna try and do that. And like it's a challenge. Well, let's
Yes.
go. Let's just do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's, I mean, you said so much, dude, and I really appreciate your perspective. And you always bring it back to the body, and that kind of goes back to what we talked about, honor, I guess, right? Honor, how am I honoring myself first? Um, and yeah, it always comes back to myself. How am I nurturing myself, taking care of myself, so I can fully present myself to other people and bless other people, and be connected with other people, but be connected with myself first. And yeah, I'm so thankful that she reached out and you sent me that screenshot. I'm like, man, then it started flowing. I'm like, man, I kind of do miss that. I miss having this platform where I am interacting with people. I'm sharing a lot of things. Like a lot of people get to hear what I got to say through my writing or like when I hang out with them in person. But there's something different just being on this damn platform and just having a mic and just talking to it and just letting things flow. And so it's been a beautiful experience so far. I enjoyed myself tonight. It's been a lot of fun. It feels really nice to see like we had almost 20 people show up tonight to support us and hear us. And we hope that you got a lot out of it. And if you did, you could always message us in our personal accounts or in the Hello Spiritual Podcast Instagram page. And yeah, from you guys showing up, it just allowed us to explore this avenue more and create more. Because at the end of this is what we're doing. We are creating. And when I'm in a creative flow is where I feel the best. So we thank you guys for showing us that this is a very like a good space for us and for yourself as well too. And yeah, I just full of love right now, dude. I'm just like I don't even know what to say to him. I'm just like I'm so full right now. I'm spiritually full right now.
Yeah, just I really I tend to forget the amount of support that like we personally have, but like me personally as well, have from these communities. Like what we've kind of made and created, like co-created in this space, like it just gets reflected back. And I think this is a beautiful platform to like see that and get suggestions and get
Mm-hmm.
input and just interact. I thank each and every one of you for like joining us today.
Yeah.
Um, those prompts still go in hand, even if you can't think about it right now. Like, what is something that you're passionate about? What is something that you're vaguely interested about? Like, is there something that you want to take better care of? Be it a plant, be it yourself, be it your pet. Like, it doesn't matter what. I think write it down and be like, what are actions? What is stopping me from doing that thing?
Yeah.
Right? Because that's the main part of it. It's isolating it and what's stopping you. If it's that inner trauma conditioning, there's other modalities you can end up using. Hit us up around that. We could probably get you some resources as well. And or if it's just yourself, get a get a friend and like voices to them
Accountability
and
buddy.
help them accountability buddy because it's co-regulation of like um some of our friends would express like nah you're bullshit just go do that just go do the thing right and just to have that to that one person say that for me personally it goes a long way so like hearing a lot of I got to show your comment hearing all of the community like just chime in and interact like I really appreciate all that because it puts back into this and it's like all right let's go harder let's do the damn things right we have much more in store coming up for like the latter part of this month. We'll give more information out later. If you're
Yeah.
enjoying what we're talking about and like want to hear us more often, like you can click the like and like hit the subscribe or hit the notification thing.
Yes.
We're gonna try to actually do this thing like
Yes.
really do this thing.
Yes. We really doing this.
We doing this out here.
um yes, everything what Miss says. Ditto. I love every single one of you. We appreciate you taking the time after a work day to listen to us for an hour. um, yeah, I'm just really grateful for everyone here, and really thankful that we get to be here today, and then we're getting back into it. And yeah, just another element to my life where I feel really inspired and lifted up. So, and I thank every single one of you guys for providing that tonight. So thank you.
All right. Is there any final points that we want to end on, or do you think we've said a lot? Because I think we said a lot.
Yeah, then we're good. Yeah, we'll say something for next episode.
Say something for next episode. So yeah, we will be posting roughly a few days before we go on live again
Yeah,
on our Instagram. I'll
yeah.
also be scheduling it on here so you can see it if you do the notifications on YouTube. You
Please
get notified of
notifications
that.
on. Yes. All right.
And so until then, we'll catch you on the next one.
Yeah. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.